The first on Australia Day, there's no better time to reflect on who we are as a nation and our future than today. It feels to me, after more than a decade or more of activism and anger, the pendulum's starting to swing back the other way, and we can, while respecting the past, acknowledge the reality that we are blessed to live in this wide brown land. But if we want future generations to have the sort of life that we've enjoyed, the peace and the prosperity, well, it's now on us to speak up and protect it. Here to give us his thoughts is former Deputy Prime Minister and Leader of the National Party, John Anderson. John Anderson, happy Australia Day to you. I'm thrilled that you're with us tonight of all nights, really. And I want to ask you to reflect, if you can, on where we are as a nation as we start to rebuild some of the identity wars and culture wars from decades past, and I guess find our feet and debate about where we're headed.
Well, thank you, Peter, and good to be with you. I think that Australians, there's a bit of a downside to laid back, irreverent Australian character. It's complacency. But when we go on a slow burn, we do heat up. And I actually think what's happening at the moment is that we've seen a weak and inadequate government. We've seen serious failure of leadership, even of character, from the Prime Minister over Bondi. We're reflecting on the ugliness of what's happened in front of the Opera House, in the bridges, it seems, in Melbourne all the time, the horrific rise of anti-Semitism, and we're saying, we want our Australia back. I actually think that's the slow burn. And keep in mind, everybody who wants Australia back, that our Prime Minister still stands in front of 3 flags, not one.
Today, when he announced or introduced the Pledge for New Citizens, Lake Burleigh Griffin in Canberra, the Prime Minister introduced that pledge with 2 different offerings, one with God and one without. Have a listen.
There are 2 pledge options, Pledge 1 and Pledge 2. Pledge 1 has the words "under God" in the first line, whereas Pledge 2 does not. The words "under God" are optional. I will read the pledge with the words "under God." You do not need to repeat these words if you do not wish to do so.
Now, look, our Constitution, John, as you well know, leads off and says, as a number of states it reads off, humbly relying on the blessings of Almighty God, have agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal Commonwealth. Now, you're a man of faith. I find this offensive that our Constitution references God, but the Prime Minister's removed that line in the pledge.
Well, I think it's a very good point. It probably follows on the 15 years or so of the rise of new atheism, which has now stumbled so badly that Sir Neil Ferguson has just recently commented that he sees the beginning of a new age of rebirth of Christianity in the West. That was, if you like, the faith that gave us the worldview that said that every citizen matters because we're all equal in the eyes of God. And that what springs from that is everything. Equality before the law, the vote rather than the gun as a means of choosing who will lead you and where you will go. This heritage is unbelievably rich. If the Prime Minister's good at one thing, he does know, I think, how to read polls. He ought to be looking. Australians are saying we want our country back. And even people who don't share Christian faith, I think, see its centrality to the genius of the way that we have, if you like, loved our neighbour and got on with one another. That is now being so shattered.
Is that why you're so committed to this Aspire conference that's coming up? I mean, tell my viewers about what you're doing, I guess, to get back in the fight about saving our country and saving our values.
So important. It's inspired by ARC, the international movement that is really gathering pace, but it's being done in a particularly Australian way, addressing the challenges that are common to the West, but which are really critical to Australia. Our foundations, our social fabric, housing, immigration and the family formation crisis, because it is becoming that, and our energy mess, and geopolitics. We can't stop ignoring the elephant in the room. It's a dangerous world, an unpredictable world, our forebears would be rolling in their grave at our lack of preparedness. They're the great challenges. 24, 25 of February. It's invitation only, but a lot of invitations out. There is a website if people are really interested, think it might be something I'd like to attend to, they think they can make a difference. Expressions of interest now welcome.
I'll be certainly covering here on the show, John. Just quickly, of course, you led the National Party. I know you're a strong coalitionist. What's your message to the National Party leaders and the Liberal leader in Canberra? Because we cannot rebuild our country while the centre-right is so split.
My message would be a very simple one. This is a really serious time for Australia, and your country comes first. And the Australian people read who's committed to them. And at the moment, we have a government that they are plainly saying they don't think is up to the task. And I think that peeling off, particularly in rural areas, to One Nation is actually people saying, get your house in order. That is the key message.
You're not wrong. I'll leave it there, John Anderson. Thank you.